What's going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today I want to give you an overview of what happened with SoFi, go over some of the data points and everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So SoFi did close 0.62% in the green, closing to $8.13. So starting off, round of applause that it was able to close on Friday above that very strong resistance level brought on by options. So that does mean going into next week, you are going to see a nice pop up in the stock price, whether it be pre-market or during the trading day, as market makers do cover a lot of those options expiring in money. So I think overall that's kind of a good thing. A lot of volatility though, so it did have a nice spike to around $8.35, and that was as a result of the recent amendment to the December CPI, which did show a change from 0.3 to 0.2, so a little bit more optimistic for that. So that's kind of what drove the market higher today, and plus the S&P did break 5,000 as a result of all this optimism. So going into next week, you are going to have a nice continuation of FOMO. So even the fear and greed index, I believe, is at like 78 right now. So bigger and better things might be on the horizon. As far as volume, so 40.24 million shares being traded, 58.6 is the average. Today, there's been no news, no SEC filings, no new analyst ratings. So it was just merely piggybacking off of the broader market. But then again, nothing wrong with that. But as a result of that optimism today, and especially with the S&P, like I said, hitting that 5,000, you had a ton of money flowing into the market. So even if you look at this breakdown right here, so it showed around $292.24 billion flowing into equities. So that's huge. That is massive. So overall, I think that does mean that maybe it's ready for the next leg up. So potentially to the 5,200 level for the S&P. So that would really help SoFi get to its potential Elliott wave technical levels, so around that $10 range, as I pointed out over the last couple of videos. But even looking at shorts though, given everything, so shorts did actually, even though it closed green, 45,000 shares were increased. 13.71% of the free floats being shorted, 125.04 million shares overall are being shorted. So I don't know what's up with shorts. It's just very questionable. Cost to borrow average on a side note is 0.96%. So as soon as the market did open, you saw that they increased roughly about 2.7 million shares. So that ultimately was kind of this scenario right here. Then they started to, I guess, let off the gas as they saw the broader market starting to really push higher. So short started to really return quite a lot throughout the trading day. So interesting kind of stuff when it comes down to that. Options, $6.04 million in calls being purchased versus 2 million in puts. And sentiment wise, based on everything, 51% of all the options being done today were optimistic, and a lot of them were actually oriented towards the strike prices of $8.50 to $10. So kind of matching with, again, that Elliott wave technicals, that maybe $10 might be around the corner, potentially. We just have to sit tight and wait. But looking at some of the call options that were purchased for today, there's a consensus for it to be above $9 by the end of next week. And just to give you a quick glimpse of the open interest, so you do see all of that below the $8 is going to be exercised, meaning market makers are going to cover it. So 27,000 at that $8 strike price. But next week, that is when things get very, very interesting. I'll kind of elaborate on that a little bit more during my weekend video on some expectations for this upcoming week, because you do see a lot right here and even around the $10 range. So if it does get to $10, then things will get very, very interesting with SoFi. A lot of big money we're looking at SoFi today. So these are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. So you'd see some pretty big ones after hours as well. So 7.04 million, 1.1 million, 3.85. So big money was definitely very much looking at SoFi. And you can kind of tell that based on the volume. So going back over to the volume, even though it was below the average, a lot of other growth stocks, like they had maybe about, I don't know, half of the typical volume. If not, that's best case scenario. So even though SoFi had the volume it did, in comparison to a lot of other growth stocks, definitely it stood out. So big money was looking at SoFi, so that's always a good sign. Looking right here though, so with it closing at $8.13, it is trading between this S1 and this pivot. So there was two resistance levels, like I said, that it needed to get above. One was that $8, second one is going to be that $8.26. It kind kind of did break above that, not enough to really stay above there, so it kind of pulled back down. So going into next week, that is going to be the next target that you'll want to watch for it to break above, so 826. And then if it does break above that, then it'll be 902, 949, and then back into where the Elliott wave technicals are projecting. So let me know your thoughts. Do you think that upside is coming, or do you think it's going to retrace back down? I think it is fair to assume the broader market does want a lot of stocks to propel and go higher. And as I've kind of signaled in the past, a lot of big money is going to be scouring the market for value plays. So potentially that could really bring a lot more attention to SoFi. I know some people might disagree with me on that, saying that SoFi is a value play. But based on everything and their recent earnings, I feel like it could be perceived as a value play. Again, that's just my own thoughts on that. Looking right here, number of retail investors who were slightly getting out today, maybe taking profits or for whatever reason. Stochastic is at 25. You do see the start of a nice deviation, so black line above the red showing a bullish sentiment. But again, with it at 25, it can be perceived as oversold. So if you do have a good piece of news specific to SoFi or the broader market, you are going to see a nice rush of value investors getting in, propelling it higher even more. So I think that bigger and better things might be coming SoFi's way, but no matter what though, even if it doesn't, even if it's stagnant and within this range, bigger and better things are going to be coming in years to come. This is why if you are investing in any innovative companies such as SoFi, Palantir, AI related, or whatever floats your boat, it's going to be taking time. Of course, you might have nice pops here and there, but over time, that is where you're going to make significant amount of returns and whatever else. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Give yourself a shout out. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? Do you think it's going to retrace back to the 6s, 7s, or do you think $10 is going to be coming next? What's your thoughts? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with all that said, appreciate all of you watching.